time to bring Portsman down. Mr. Portsman, I finished processing the bloody letters, sir. Alright, let me take a gander here. At it. Pass it here. Okay, looking good. You there, take good care of this. Gets him right in the head. Well, if it isn't Detective Gumshoe. End of the line for you, Portsman. We've got you now. Call off your dog, Mr. Edgeworth. Is this some kind of joke? It's no joke. We know, Mr. Jacques Portsman, that you are the guilty party in this case. You must be pretty upset getting chased out of your own room. I'd be mad too. So I guess you can stay, if you promise to stay out of our way. You intend to hide your crime under the guise of a prosecutor doing his job. I can see right through the unsightly, paper-thin mask you wear upon your cowl. Who'd have ever thought it would come to this? Actually, come to think of it, your mentor was Manfred von Karma, right? The legendary prosecutor who never lost a single case for 40 long years? But there was always this incessant chatter about forged evidence with that guy. It really teaches me that I've got to stay on the lookout for false accusations, you know. Are you done trying to play mind games with me? Because they won't work. The only thing you should be using that mouth of yours for now is explaining yourself. Although that too will only dig your hole deeper. Either way, your game is up. Well, aren't we full of ourselves? Even though you have yet to prove anything. We'll see. I have no idea what sort of harebrained idea you have in mind, but there's a mountain of evidence that points away from me being the culprit. Besides, how may I ask, do you propose I unlocked your door and got in here? Look, I feel bad doing this to you, but I've got work to do, so we're done here. Sorry, but we're not finished yet. Boy, you're stubborn. I suppose you're basing your accusations on something? I'll show you what I'm basing my accusation on, with evidence. You propose I unlock your door and got in.
Hold it!
Unfortunately, I believe I've already shown how earlier. Your speculations mean nothing, as I still insist that I could not gain access to your room. What should I do now? Should I raise an objection? You claim to have had no way to open my door. However, is that really the honest truth? Alright, I'll humor you. Go ahead, shoot. Very well then. I propose you use this to open my door. Ah, here we go.
Take that!
I believe you were able to open my office door with the master key, no less.
Objection!
Wait, hold on a sec. I never laid a finger on that key, as you already know. Precisely, you were able to open my door without lifting a single finger. Well, maybe you did, but only to direct. But you did, but only to direct. Huh? That's right. You used your finger to direct this person to open my door with the key.
Take that!
You had asked Miss Bird to open your own office door for you, yes? Yeah, I kind of forgot my key at home. Happens a bit too often for my taste, you know? But the room you had Miss Bird open at that time was not your own, was it? Did he do what I think he did? What? You have quite the imagination. But why don't we ask the girl herself whose door she opened, shall we? I'm certain it was Mr. Portsmouth's door, sir. I checked the number plate to make sure I was opening the right door, sir. He did it, he did the thing. See, Miss Bird backs up my story. Yet, what if you misled her to fool her into thinking what you wanted? And how do you suppose I did that? By switching the number plates on our doors, for example. Oh my god, this... I think this game came out before Danganronpa 1, but I am seeing so many parallels between the first case from that one and this case right here. The switch number plates, the whole bloody message bit. Oh my god. Mwah. That's right, they do slide out pretty easily. Furthermore, you then used one other thing to give a very strong impression. That the door she was opening was yours and not in fact mine. What was it that Mr. Portsmouth used to make Miss Bird think it was his room? Oh! He moved the basketball hoop next to it.
Take that!
What, the basketball hoop, sir? It's quite the peculiar fixture in any hallway, let alone a hallway in this building. Which is why it left an unusually strong impression on you. It's an object perfectly suited to sit just outside the office of a peculiar prosecutor. That's very true, sir, because there was a basketball hoop sitting there. I thought the door I was opening had to be Mr. Portsmouth's. There are signs that the hoop had been moved. To sit in front of my office, to be sure. I see. So that's how you throw suspicion on people. Thanks for the tip. But I think your conjecture is a little off the racetrack. Oh. Now you're just spouting nonsense. I had the girl open my office door. After that, I was in my room the entire time. You don't have a single reason to suspect me. So he intends to claim his innocence to the end, does he? I'm as pure and innocent as my jacket. Yeah, her jacket don't look so pure and innocent either. And Miss Bird is as dirty and guilty as the jacket she wears. My jacket's not dirty, I'll have you know. I just washed it yesterday. Please calm down, for I intend to show who is the one truly covered in slime here. Well said. After that, I was in my room the entire time.
Hold it!
And what were you doing in your office? I was doing my usual training regimen. Training regimen? Were you going through your law books from start to finish? Mainly batting practice and some weights. Oh, and I jog when I get the chance. Wow, you must be the buffest prosecutor we have! With the weakest legal muscles, it would seem. I was doing my usual workouts, so... You don't have a single reason to suspect me. I was in my room the entire time. I brought the 3 pieces of evidence by, just like we talked about on the phone. But it looks like you're out. Guess I'll catch up to you later.
Objection!
That was a lie. What are you talking about? How is that a lie? This is a note that the victim left for you, Mr. Portsman. A note? It was left on your door, or did you not notice? And right here it says, "But you're out." You were not in your room when the victim came to call on you. So then where were you and what were you doing? Shall I explain it in full detail for you? You were busy snooping around in my room. The very room you had Miss Bird open for you.
Objection!
That's just nonsense. You have no evidence that I made the girl open your door for me. Oh, but I do. I have very decisive evidence. No way. This is proof positive that you had Miss Bird open the door for you. Her prints weren't found on your doorknob.
Take that!
I had your door dusted for prints. My door? What for? Come on, I'll bet you didn't find anything. You sure are good at wasting time. You're right, I didn't find anything. And definitely not Miss Bird's fingerprints. Her prints? What do they have to do with anything? Let's put it this way. If she really was the one who opened your door, then her print should naturally be on the doorknob she touched. Further, of all the prints on my office door's knob have been wiped clean off. I can only assume it's because Miss Bird's fingerprints were on it. Don't you think it's time you gave up your charade? We know you stole into my office with the intent of stealing something from me. And Detective Faith found you out. Possibly because he heard sounds coming from a room whose occupant was on leave. Mr. Portsman, you killed Mr. Faith to silence him. And I had the misfortune to return when I did. You had to threaten me as you escaped. As I said when you had the gun to my back, no one gets away with committing murder in my office. Time for the breakdown. And just what's so funny, pal? Well, that look of stiff seriousness on the face of this office's finest prosecutor. As he makes a huge mistake in accusing me is simply too much to bear. There's just nothing else like it in the world. What? Mr. Edgeworth just explained it all, and he even backed it up. You're the murderer! Stop trying to be slippery and just admit to the crime already. And as I said earlier, it's all so circumstantial, so full of conjecture. You say you checked my doorknob for prints? Well, I can readily confess that I wiped that knob down well. Huh? I'm a little obsessive-compulsive, you see. I didn't want to touch a doorknob that you had touched. Which is why I wiped the knob down as soon as I could after you opened the door. Seriously, this is your defense? After that, it makes perfect sense that only Jim's and my own prints would be on there. You made that up just now, didn't you? Furthermore, as for the note Jim left for me, do you know exactly when that was? For all we know, he could have left it there before I arrived at the office. Like early evening, for example. Are you saying you failed to notice a note in your doorway? Hey, even geniuses fail at times. I was probably too preoccupied by work-related matters, although that's no excuse. Now that's just a flat-out lie. There's no way you didn't notice a note that size. But you can't prove that, can you? Say something, Mr. Edgeworth. Back me up here, sir. Ugh. Portsman makes a good point. I can't prove that he didn't simply overlook it. Besides, I have an airtight alibi. Airtight, you say? I only realized that I had one just now as we were talking. I guess it would have been better for all of us if I told you sooner. Uh-huh. You just now remembered. If memory serves, you came back to this office at around 2 a.m., correct? And it was then that you had that unfortunate confrontation at gunpoint with the culprit. But at exactly that time, I was down in criminal affairs. Ask around. I'm sure the other detectives will corroborate my story. It was the perfect alibi. Do you really think it's that perfect? Like I said, I don't care. Ask around all you like. You'll see for yourself. Detective Gumshoe. Sir, yes, sir! I'll go check out his alibi, sir. Be right back. Mr. Edgeworth, sir. I think we're in trouble. It's just like Mr. Portsman said. The guys down in Criminal Affairs said they saw him at around 2 a.m. You see? All the evidence points to him being the culprit. So there must be a contradictory point in his alibi somewhere. We'll see. Came back around 2 a.m. You're correct, it was around 2 a.m. Are you sure? It's really important to me that you're spot on with the time. I remember checking my watch then, and make no mistake, it was 2. Oh, giving testimony like a pro. Okay, so you came back to your office at 2. And it was then that you had that unfortunate confrontation at gunpoint with the culprit.
Hold it!
It's as you say, however... Yes, however, you are the only one who claims to have bumped into the culprit. So tell me, did you see this person's face? Was it me who you saw? It was pitch black, so I couldn't actually see.
Objection!
Oh, come now. I'm sure you saw something. Try a little harder, wouldn't you? I'm beginning to feel like I'm the one being interrogated here. Oh well, it doesn't matter if you remember or not. It only matters that you ran into the culprit. exactly that time, I was down in criminal affairs.
Hold it!
So you paid the criminal affairs department a visit. Yep, right after I left the prosecutor's building, I headed straight for the precinct.
Hold it!
Well, we did go and ask around to confirm your testimony. And it was just as I said, right? Yes, sir. A number of detectives said they saw you at around that time. See? I have the perfect alibi. That's the ace I had up my sleeve. Ugh. Impossible. He actually does have a perfect alibi. What's wrong? Why the sudden sullen look on your face? Can't you say anything back, Mr. Edgeworth? I think we've reached the end of the line. It's time to get off this crazy train. Okay, Ozzy. You there. Sir. Please escort the young lady out. But remember, be gentle. Maggie! Detective Gumshoe! Is there nothing I can do? There must be a way to turn this situation around. If I only had a clue. Did I miss something that can help me cast doubt on his alibi? I need to calmly think this through one more time, and with logic. Trials in disarray. Portsman's alibi. The intruder could not have been Portsman, then who could it have been? Another intruder? Another gun. Is this... Are we on the right track? There were 2 bullets left at the scene of the crime. One that robbed Mr. Faith of his life, and one that nearly robbed me of my jacket. However, the murder weapon only shows signs of being fired once, meaning that it's entirely possible that a second gun was used in my office tonight. But seeing as how the killer had to steal Mr. Faith's gun, I doubt the killer had another gun up their sleeve. Therefore, the second gun could have been the property of an entirely different person, which could mean that there was another person who paid a visit to my office tonight. Ooh. The culprit rearranged the files twice, once before and once after. Could this have been the second person who rearranged them the second time? Supposing there was yet another visitor tonight. That would also resolve the issue of why my shelves were upended twice. We know that the shelves were disturbed once before and once after the murder. So it shouldn't be much of a stretch to think that it was the work of 2 different people. Once by the person who stole the victim's gun and then killed him with it, and once again after the murder by our second culprit, who is the owner of the second gun. If we suppose that the second culprit's gun was the one that was pointed at my back...
Objection!
Mr. Portsman, it seems that I need to I need to amend my assumptions regarding this case. Great, so you finally come to your senses. Mr. Edgeworth! Sir, what are you saying? This has been a big misunderstanding on my part from the start. I had assumed that the person I ran into was the killer, but that may not be the case. What do you mean? The person I ran into is just your average thief. A thief? But sir, doesn't that cause some sort of contradiction in the facts? Not at all. It simply means that the killer was someone else. And it means that in actuality, two culprits stole into my office tonight. What do you mean, two? It explains both why my shelves were disturbed twice and how there were two guns. Mr. Portsman tricked Miss Bird and gained entry into my office.
Objection!
Now you're just leading the argument. You still don't have any actual proof, you know. If you could please go along with my hypothetical scenario for now, Mr. Portsman. In the end, if you really are innocent, you should have nothing to worry about. Now then, returning to my scenario, Mr. Portsman was out to steal something from me. Which is why he checked my secret safe and ransacked my shelves. This is the first time. So then, this would be when the files were put back in the wrong order, right? Correct. And then, just as he was about to look somewhere else, who should walk in but his own partner, Mr. Faith? But why did Mr. Faith come into your room, sir? He probably had business with Mr. Portsman, which is why he was in the area. But that's when he noticed sounds coming from my office, would be my guess. Oh, because you were supposed to be away, right? He must have thought it was odd, so he came into the office to check it out. Correct. And as a detective, that was the right thing to do. But when he came in, he found his own partner standing there. Because it was Mr. Portsman, Mr. Fate probably let his guard down. But Mr. Portsman was not so merciful as to let him leave alive. He waited for a chance and stole Mr. Fate's gun from him, and then he killed him. He silenced Mr. Fate, catching him in the act of stealing. This was the moment in which the first shot was fired, the one that landed in my files. Following that, Mr. Portsman wiped the gun down and left it behind as he made his exit. He could afford to do that because he also left the fake dying message behind. You're such a complicated troublemaker, you know that? Well, if things were as simple as that, then all would be solved. However, there is yet another visitor to my room, and this is where it gets complicated. There was another? Visitor, sir? Yes, and this other person's objective was also to steal something from me. Now then, even after Mr. Portsman left, the door to my office remained unlocked. However, this new visitor had no way of knowing that, and so they stole the master key from the security guard's room, and then entered my room and searched through my shelves. This was the second time they were disturbed, and it seems the thief found their prize. The stolen zero file, right, sir? Correct. Only just as the thief was about to leave with the file, I appeared. The thief then threatened me with their own gun and made their escape. The second bullet was fired during that brief encounter. So the shell's getting messed up twice, and the 2 bullets. It was all because 2 different people were doing those things at 2 different times. Precisely. So now do you see, Mr. Portsman? The person I met was just a thief, and was not, in fact, Mr. Fate's killer. Your alibi for the time frame in which I ran into the other person is now irrelevant, because we now know that the murder took place during the first culprit's visit.
Objection!
What's so funny, pal? Absolutely splendid. Your scenario explains everything. Of course it does. It's Mr. Edgeworth, after all. But you know, it still doesn't change the fact that it's all circumstantial. Supposing if, and that's a big if, your theory is right, it would indeed render my alibi, which has withstood scrutiny, mind you, irrelevant. But there's still one defining point of your argument for which you have no evidence. Your supposition that I was the first visitor. Mr. Edgeworth, you can't let him get away with that, sir. But he has a point. I have absolutely no proof at this point. Don't say that, sir. I don't believe this. Don't worry, Maggie. I'll do something if I must. You know something? I find your attitude to be somewhat peculiar, Mr. Edgeworth. If the person you met really was just a plain old thief, then why is that person not your main suspect? That is, if your theory is correct. Now what's he got? That thief you ran into should be your real suspect, wouldn't you say? We should be out there looking for that thief right now. They might still be nearby. I hate to repeat myself, but as I've already said, I was training in my room. And when Jim came to deliver some evidence to me, I was down at Criminal Affairs. So I can't be expected to know what happened around here after I left. So you think we should be out there looking for the thief? Of course. Now's not the time to be wasting time on dead-end discussions. I don't think it's at all dead-ended. I find your alibi to be fascinating. Let's continue where we left off, shall we? Sweating bullets again. I know he's lying. I know he was there at the scene of the crime. I just have to find a way to prove it. Why didn't you go there with Mr. Fate? Oh, that's because he said he was tired and was going to take a quick nap. You know those sofas in the hallway? He likes to sleep on those. It's one of his habits. And one of the evidence he brought. They were things related to yesterday's case. Just 2 items, a gun and a pendant. Interesting. This piece of testimony seems too crucial to let slip through the cracks.
Hold it!
A gun and a pendant. Yes, this gun, which was the murder weapon. And this pendant, which belonged to the victim. And why were you taking them to criminal affairs? There was something in a past case file I wanted to compare these two to. But all this has nothing to do with this case right now. Anyway, I believe you'll find the long paper trail I left to be your satisfaction. This is all matching up with what Detective Gumshoe found out. I brought the 3 pieces of evidence by. So, wait. The note says 3, but he says 2.
Objection!
Only 2 pieces? I believe the proper phrase here is, "You fail." Excuse me? You fail as a prosecutor, Mr. Portsman, as you intend to keep evidence hidden from me. What are you talking about? I haven't hidden anything from you. Well, here's a piece I think you should read carefully. Oh, it says Mr. Faith was bringing 3 pieces. Yes, and this is the victim's real dying message to you, Mr. Portsman. I can't believe I get tripped up by simple arithmetic. Where is the missing piece of evidence? It's... You have it, don't you? Only the guilty would make such a face. Detective Gumshoe? You don't have to say it, sir. I'll pat the guy down from head to toe. Don't come any closer, I'm warning you. It's all part of the investigation, pal. So don't even think about stopping me. No! Hey, what's this? Yeah, this on him, sir. Oh, God. A VHS tape? God, that's... dated. Despite what you said, it would appear you do have something to hide. But why would he hide something like that? There's only one reason why anyone would hide evidence of this caliber. Because it would unequivocally point to that person himself as the real killer. Let's examine this videotape in a little more detail. With a section of the tape that will drive the last nail into his coffin. Oh. Okay, there's blood on it. Oh, that's blood, isn't it? Yes, and I believe this is what the good prosecutor was trying to hide from us. This blood is still fresh. You mean this might be Detective Faith's blood? No, you've got it all wrong. No amount of denial can save you, but we have but to run a blood test to find the truth. You told us you received evidence from the victim earlier. Now you will tell us when and how did the victim's blood find its way onto this video. Yeah, it's totally suspicious. Was it at the moment of his death? Did Detective Faith have this videotape on his personage when you killed him? You know very well there's no way to prove that. Not even if we were to examine this tape for fingerprints. if I had to make a guess, I'd say the only ones on here would belong to the murderous you and Mr. Faith. No, possible. Okay, yeah. Yeah, you eat that. You choke on that metal. Mr. Portsmouth has been placed under arrest for the murder of Detective Buddy Faith, sir. Very good. And the results we got back from the lab techs on the tape turned out to be real solid, sir. The blood work came back, and it was definitely Mr. Faith's blood on there. And as a bonus, they were able to lift a few of Mr. Faith's fingerprints as well. Thank you so very much, Mr. Edgeworth. I still can't believe I got to see your cool deduction skills outside the courtroom. I'm impressed beyond words, sir. It was nothing. I'm just sorry you got caught up in a murder in my office. Please accept my apologies. Aw, it was nothing, really. Compared to what I've been through, I mean. I consider myself lucky that it was only a burglary and a murder this time, sir. Only that? If it had been a holdup or a hostage situation, I'd have thrown my hands up in the air. I think I'm finally rising up from a goddess of misfortune to just an unlucky person. Something tells me we should have hired a different person for security detail. Nothing against Maggie, but that's probably true. You know something, sir, that Mr. Portsman really was one corrupt prosecutor. And why would you say he was corrupt? Well, I heard there were a number of suspicious things related to his court cases. There's even rumors about how some of the evidence he uses is forged, sir. Forged evidence, huh? Not the first time we've heard about that in this series. And they say he even decided not to prosecute a few cases for some really vague reasons. Oh, that guy was a complete disgrace to the entire profession. We never did get around to asking what his reason was for breaking into my office. Yeah, whenever we got near that top, he just clammed up. Although we can be pretty certain it was to steal something. This is just between you and me, sir, but there's a rumor that some sort of huge organization is involved behind the scenes. Oh? Well, well. Yeah, and another thing is we never figured out the identity of that second intruder. Of course, this is only the first case, so I'm sure this is going to come into play later down the road. With Mr. Portsman not willing to divulge anything, it certainly lends credence to that rumor. It would seem we haven't heard the last of this. Right. Huh? The Mr. Portsman isn't the bad guy? I didn't say that, but rather, there are still many more mysteries for us to solve. For example, we still haven't figured out the significance to this piece of evidence. Right, why were they after this?
Take that!
The person who stole this file, the other villain of the night. Yeah, I wonder who it was. And what happened to the stolen pages? I wonder, who in the world was it that held me up at gunpoint? Mr. Edgeworth, sir. Yes? I came across this while I was processing your office earlier, sir. This card. What is it, sir? Is that a bird or something on there? It's not just any bird. It's the mark of the raven. A three-legged raven. Ah, yes, the... Even you should know what that is, detective. Oh, it's about that thing, isn't it? That great thief everyone's talking about. Oh, I was gonna say, what is it, Yadagamaras? Nah. But yeah, the three-legged raven is something in... is a thing in Japanese mythology. Yeah, Yatagarasu. Okay, there. Yes. Under the mark of a legendary bird, the Yatagarasu is noble to the end. A modern Robin Hood. Labeled mysterious and phantom-like, the Yatagarasu appears and vanishes at will. Though we don't know how much about this thief's ultimate goal, we do know the targets. The Yatagarasu likes to find and make public evidence of corrupt dealings of all sorts. The theft is always performed in silence, and always with perfection. Once a target is chosen, no dramatic calling card or announcement is set forth. Instead, the chosen corporation is infiltrated without even the target noticing. Some days later, the evidence that was found is sent out to the mass media. Along with this single card. Although, it's been a while since the Yatagarasu's last appearance. Hey, Mr. Edgeworth! Look, something's written on the back! What? Let me see. It's the location of where the thief put the stolen files. So the person who stole the contents of the file was the Yatagarasu. Yatagarasu. Organization. Quite a few key words are popping up in this mystery. The murder in my office. The return of the great thief, Yatagarasu. Looking back, I can't say I didn't see these events coming. But they were heralded by the incidents that began to occur 2 days ago. Alright. Sweet. Okay, we managed to finish the first case tonight. Okay. Very happy with how this went. I'm liking, as always, I'm liking this so far. Tomorrow night, probably around the same time, I will begin episode 2, Turnabout Airlines, and see how that one goes. But for right now, everybody, have a good night. I will see you all later.